Go, Lee.
Well, welcome aboard to May 7th, 2024 DVMUG Zoom meeting. I'm Lee Wagner, your host for today's meeting. We'll follow our normal sequence of news followed by videos, some miscellany, some question and answers, and finally a social hour. We're going to start off with uh, uh, John Sobrero on this week's news because this morning I was at Meals on Wheels and couldn't get to see any of it. So John's going to cover a couple items for there before I go on to the rest of them. Go ahead, John.
You're muted, John.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
now.
you can.
Okay.
Good.
This morning at 7 o'clock, they had the Apple, called it the Let Loose event that we've been hearing about for 2 weeks. And the speculation was exactly what it was. Correct. Except there was more. It was totally an iPad event. Nothing about nothing else. All iPads. Every iPad was updated except for the the iPad Mini and the low-end iPad that had a home button, lightning port, and a headphone jack has been that's eliminated. And the one above that that was actually way better has now become the bottom because they dropped the price $100. So that's now a good deal. So we have new MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros, both in two different sizes. And some of the things that were listed was surprise, first M4 processor arrives in the iPad Pro, not in a Mac. Skip the M3. iPad 4 also has an OLED screen. And the Air comes in a 13-inch model, not just an 11-inch model. New Pencil Pro with squeezing gestures, rotation, gyroscope rotation, rotate the pencil, and Find My support. So it works with the only with the MacBook Pro. I'm not the MacBook, iPad Pro, and the new iPad Air. Doesn't work with the other models. So now there's three pencils. They don't work with each other, certain models, so it's kind of confusing. But very cool. Also, new Magic Keyboard. I believe that only works with the new computers, the new iPads. It's not cheap. It's $300. Is that right? Has a full row of function keys and a way bigger trackpad the size of a MacBook. So basically, it kind of turns your Pro into a full-blown computer. Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro were updated for the iPads and the Macs to support the new features that the Pros will have with all this video recording and stuff. So a lot of stuff going on. There's a link to an article. That article is on the BBS if you want to get it, where it explains each one of these bullet points and what's going on. And the next news item is not going forward. There it is. This is what Apple didn't mention if you watch the keynote that actually I mentioned the first item, the 9th gen iPad is dead mostly. You can still find it. It's been discounted in recent months heavily on Amazon for like $250 when the retail was like $329. So you probably still get it if you want. Maybe it'll even be cheaper until they're eventually they're going to be gone if they're not already because they've been blowing them out. I already mentioned Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro are being updated to match, and for the iPad, new iPads and the MacBooks, they'll run the same version, have the same features and stuff. The Pro iPad has nano textured glass, but it costs extra. That's an option when you buy it. You have to choose what color, what kind of glass you want, what kind of storage you want, what size screen you want. So there's lots of options. Do you want the pencil? Do you want the? I tried to spec one out. It was like all these things. If you load it up, you could run this thing well over $2,000. The Pro starts at I think $1,000. There's also a Smart Folio gets redesigned. I guess that's the case that with no keyboard. Is that right? I think. So link to that article. That's on the BBS also. If you want to go read the full article, describes that. And that's what I got for the news. I'll bail out of the screen share. Let Lee come back in. We're good. Anybody got I'm sorry, I have my video off during that. Anybody got a discussion about that? Did you do?
Yeah, you left out some stuff there.
Anybody got any comments
Stop
about
it, yeah.
the device? If anybody wants to say
Yeah.
anything, you got to unmute. Everybody was muted, so otherwise
You
we'll-
left out, can you hear me?
yeah.
Yeah, you left out the part about the multiple camera thing called.
Yes, that's part of Final Cut Pro, I believe.
Yeah, well, it's called Final Cut Camera.
Oh yeah, well that wasn't in the news. Yeah, there's a new feature, so you can, when you're shooting on the iPad Pro, the iPhone 15s can shoot multiple cameras into the iPad.
Up to 3 other cameras, apparently.
Right.
Independently, and get all 3 feeds.
Right.
Yeah, it's terrific. Yeah, but I'm sure it's not free.
Well, the app is free, but you got to have Final Cut Pro and iPad Pro and iPhone 15s to make it work.
Okay.
So
it uses camera continuity, according to Gary.
Gary had a video this morning about the new stuff, but it was in whatever his paid account was, so we couldn't get it and show it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could have shared it because
we tried that once when he had an event, and you can't do it off of YouTube, and it was really clunky, and we decided probably wasn't a good idea to do that anyway because we're not paying for it. Because I think Peter tried it. If we do, we have to stop the recording while it plays. Nobody else has any questions or comments about these new iPads? I guess not.
I was thinking of getting the new iPad Pro because I have a 3rd generation iPad Pro, but I don't think I want to spend that kind of money.
They're not. They're meant for high end. They're made for people who do work on and shoot video and edit video. And artists. They mentioned heavily, they brought the Procreate CEO in to talk about the pen. That's what that gal who came to the clinic that draws horses, she uses Procreate on the iPad. And a pen to draw like an artist. She's an artist.
Yeah. Well, my iPad Pro 3rd generation still works like a champ, so I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Rick, you know your camera's off, your video is off too.
Yes, I know. Because
Okay,
I'm reading the newspaper and watching the program at the same time.
Kenji's here. I gotta make you a co-host. Where are you? Here. Go ahead with the news, I guess.
Okay, we'll move on to the rest of the news. These are the items on the news, and this video is on the BBS. The links are clickable, so you can get to the correct location just by a simple click on the blue URL. Following our synopses on these news items. Safari is to get an artificial intelligence boost in the iOS 18, Mac OS 15 with Smarter Search Web Page Eraser by Roman Loyola of Macworld.com. As we get closer to WWDC, more reports about the artificial intelligence software that Apple will create are coming out, with the most recent one covering Apple's efforts to enhance the next major version of Safari. Apple Insider reports that the company is working on a new intelligence search feature that uses on-device Apple artificial intelligence to summarize a web page. The language learning model that Apple has developed can identify key phrases and topics that give an idea of what a web page's content is about and create a summary for the user. Other features that Apple is working on include a web eraser that gives users the option to remove parts of a web page. This includes ads, text, and images. Safari will remember the parts that have been removed when the page is closed, and if the page is revisited, the Safari alerts the user that the page has been modified. A new page controls menu that appears in the address bar. This menu essentially collects user controls that are spread throughout Safari, such as text size, zoom, reader mode, privacy report, and more. An AI enhancement for visual lookup that gives users product information. This feature could also be implemented system-wide, not just in Safari. Any comments or questions? On to the next item. Apple received a whopping $20 billion to make $20 million to make Google the default iPhone search engine in 2022, damning antitrust documents prove, as reported by Oliver Haslam of iMore.com. And he says big money changed hands. It's been confirmed that Alphabet, Google's parent company, paid Apple a cool $20 billion in 2022 to ensure that its search engine was the default option in the Safari web browser. The news comes after court documents in the Justice Department's antitrust lawsuit against Google were unsealed. The information is key for those who argue that Google's position in the market prevents others from being able to compete. And both Google and Apple had hoped that the $20 billion figure would not be made public knowledge. The court document disclosure was first reported by Bloomberg and will come as a blow to Google's legal team, but also Apple's executives. The documents mean that we also know how vital Google's payments are to Apple. Bloomberg notes that the payments in 2020 accounted to 17.5% of Apple's operating income alone. Microsoft has been trying to get Bing into the hearts and minds of Apple users for some time, and a Microsoft executive even went so far as to say that Apple is the reason Google is beating Bing in popularity. There have also been rumors of Apple's one-time intention to buy Bing, but a deal was never struck, in part due to the revenue Google was already providing Apple. It was decided that losing that revenue simply wasn't worth the benefit of owning a search engine. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, yes. So it doesn't. So Microsoft could just pony up another 20 million to say, just let the user when you set it up, just click which search engine do you want to use. And it only took me about 5 minutes playing with Bing to go right back to Google, because Bing is a ridiculous search engine in my experience, because there's just all this garbage on the screen. It's unbelievable.
Well, it doesn't seem to pay to build a better mousetrap.
They had purchased good source code to do Bing, but they haven't maintained it. Bing has the guts of the Alta Vista search technology, but they let the people go who knew what they were doing.
Well, the fact that it's 17.5% of Apple's revenue is certainly a significant factor. All right, next item. Apple announces for Q2 of 2024 earnings, slightly beating expectations with 90.75 billion revenue, reported by Zach Hall, 9 to 5 Mac. Apple has disclosed its fiscal year 2024 second quarter earnings results. The company reports 90.75 billion in revenue during the 3-month period, dropping 4.31% year over year. Analysts expected revenue around 90.33 billion. Apple netted 23.64 billion in profit, a 2.15% decline. Tim Cook, Apple today Apple is reporting revenue of 90.8 billion for the March quarter, including an all-time revenue record in services, said Tim Cook, Apple CEO. During the quarter, we were thrilled to launch Apple Vision Pro and to show the world the potential that spatial computing unlocks. We're also looking forward to an exciting product announcement next week and an incredible worldwide developers conference next month. As always, we are focused on providing the very best products and services for our customers and doing so while living up to the core values that drive us. Thanks to very high levels of customer satisfaction and loyalty, our active installed base of devices has reached a new all-time high across all products and all geographic segments. And our business performance drove a new earnings per share record for the March quarter, said Luca Maestri, Apple CFO. Given our confidence in Apple's future and value we see in our stock, our board has authorized an additional 110 billion for share repurchases. We're also raising our quarterly dividend for the 12th year in a row. Additional items from the quarterly results. The earnings per share is at 153. iPhone revenue of 45.96 billion, a 10.46 drop year over year. Services revenue 23.87 billion, up 14.2% year over year. Mac revenue 7.45 billion, a 3.9% increase year over year. iPad revenue 5.56 billion, a 16.4% drop year over year. Wearables, home, and accessories revenue 7.91 billion, a 9.7% drop year over year. So these percentages are kind of interesting because when you take a look at what the base was for that particular feature, that 10.46 drop in iPhone revenue means a whole lot more than a 14.2% increase in services revenue. So it's a little interesting to think of it in the full picture. Any comments? Okay, Apple tweaks core technology fee terms for free apps and small developers, reported by Dan Moran of sixcolors.com. Apple continues to revise its approach to complying with Europe's Digital Markets Act, today announcing a pair of exceptions to the core technology fee. The first pertains to apps that are totally free. First, no core technology fee is required if a developer has no revenue whatsoever. This includes creating a free app without monetization that is not related to revenue of any kind, physical, digital, advertising, or otherwise. This condition is intended to give students, hobbyists, and other non-commercial developers an opportunity to create a popular app without paying the core technology fee. Second item, small developers, less than 10 million euros in global annual business revenue, that adopt the alternative business terms receive a 3-year free on-ramp to the core technology fee to help them create innovative apps and rapidly grow their business. Within this 3-year period, if a small developer that hasn't previously exceeded 1 million in first annual installs crosses the threshold for the first time, they won't pay the core technology fee, even if they continue to exceed 1 million first annual installs during that time. If a small developer grows to earn global revenue between 10 million euros and 50 million euros within the 3-year on-ramp period, they'll start to pay the core technology fee after 1 million first annual installs up to a cap of 1 million euros per year. What this is basically saying is, if you're making a small amount of money, you can avoid paying the core technology fee for 3 years, giving you a chance to get to the point where you can afford to pay Apple's fee. Once again, reinforcing that the target of this rule seems to be large companies paying nothing, such as Meta, Spotify, etc. So any comments?
So I have no idea what any of that meant.
Yeah.
What is a core technology fee? Is that the 30% that Apple charges on sales in the store, or is that something else?
I guess I don't know the answer to that myself. Someone else got the answer. It seems to me it must be a percentage of what the company's making based on that technology.
Yeah, but what technology?
It says that it's a fee that Apple will charge developers for each user account that downloads their app, even if the developer does not use Apple's payment services or the App Store.
Okay.
Yeah, but what app?
The developer's app.
Yeah.
It appears to be connected to the online stores and the requirements in the European Union.
All right, we move on.
There's more. The core technology fee is an element of the new business terms in the EU that reflects, oh, this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah, I see that too, but I still don't have a clue what that means, what that's talking about. But that's okay. We can move on. I'm not a developer, so it doesn't affect me anyway.
Okay, we'll move on to the videos. As with the news, this summary is posted on the BBS with the access clickable.
I also put the links in the chat for both the news and the videos.
All right. First video is from Gary Rosenzweig of MacMost. 7 ways to add spacer lines between paragraphs in pages.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's look at different ways that you could add visible divider lines between paragraphs in pages. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, sometimes you want to have more than just some extra space between paragraphs. You want to have an actual visible line that divides up, say, sections of text in something that you're writing. There are several different ways you can do this in Pages. Let's start by the most obvious one, the one you may go for right away, and that's to simply add a line. If you click on Shape at the top of Pages, you could add a simple line like this. It starts off diagonal, but you could drag the points at either end from one side of the document to the other, and it snaps to being a horizontal line. You can then position this where you want. So if you want it to be between two paragraphs, like right here, and it looks like you've got a nice divider line between these two paragraphs. In fact, by default, it will actually move with the paragraphs. So if I insert some spaces here, you can see how it moves up and down very easily. If we select the line and then go to Format, Arrange, we can see here it is set to move with text, and text wrapping is automatic. You probably want to change that to above and below. Why? Well, let's say you want to have a smaller line and then have that line simply in the center. If the line is too small, the text is actually going to wrap around to the left and right. But by selecting the above and below option, it will always push the text below it, no matter how short the line is. Now, also notice here, you've got a spacing option. You can decrease that, and you can see you've got less spacing above and below. And also, if you go to Format Style, you could change the style. So, for instance, I could change the line type. I can make it, say, a dotted line, little circles. I can make it look like a brush stroke like that. I can change the size really easily. So you can adjust it for a variety of things, including changing the color. Now, you can actually save the style really easily. If you are in Format Style, you see different styles here at the top. Use the right arrow here, go to a new page of these, and click the plus button, and you'll see that style added. So now when you want to add a new one, you can add a new line and place it where you want, and then you can go to Format Style and select that style, and it will change to that style. Or you can simply duplicate the line that was there before. So I can select this, I can copy it with Command-C and Command-V to paste, or I can select it and then go to Edit, Duplicate Selection, or Command-D, or I can simply select it and then use the Option key and drag, and it will drag out a duplicate of the item. Now, the great thing about using a custom style is if you've got not just, say, 2, but maybe 100 of these, you can change them all at once. Let's say I want to change from blue to green and make it a solid line. I can select just one of these. So I'll change it here to a solid line, and I'll change it to green. And let's make it 1 point. So I've changed that. Now, if I go over to the style here that I know is applied to all of these lines, I can control-click it, two-finger click on a trackpad, or right-click on a mouse, and I could say, redefine style from selection. Then I'm going to get told that another object uses this style, which is fine. I want to update all the objects. And look what happens to the second line here. When I do, that changes as well. And if I had 100 of them, all 100 would change. So it's easy to change all the lines at once. Now, another option is not to use a line, but a rectangle. If you use a rectangle like this, you can place it there just like a line. And I'm going to stretch it out so it's basically a thick line like this. And the rest of it, I could do just like a line. If I go to Format and then Arrange, you'll see I've got spacing as before. I've got the text wrap, or I could set to above and below. And I can also go to Style here, change the color if I like, and even set a style to match that. So now I can duplicate this. I'll Option drag, add it right here, and then I can change that color. And then Control click here, and then redefine style from selection. Okay, and you can see it's changed them all. So whether you use rectangle or line just depends kind of on what you want. It's really easy to make something nice and thick with a rectangle. But you could also use another shape. So for instance, a rounded rectangle could make an interesting divider line because it'll have these little rounded ends like that. Now, whatever shape you're using, I'm going back to a line here, you can set it in Format Arrange to, instead of automatic text wrap or above and below, you can set it to inline with text. And when you do so, it actually works like a character in text. So let me go to View and then Show Invisibles. And you could see here that I've got a paragraph mark at the end of this line. This line is actually sitting in the text right at the end of this line here. Let me add another paragraph here. And you can see now it's actually its own character on its own paragraph. It doesn't sit as nice and centered here, but you could easily change that by selecting the whole paragraph. And then going under Format Style, you've got your before and after paragraph spacing. So you can set that, and you could even create a new paragraph style if you like. I'll call this blind, and then I could copy the paragraph here. So I'm selecting it with the image as a character inside of it, and I could add it to a new spot right there. It's just a slightly different way to go. If inline with text is something you're more used to, then you may want to do this. It makes it really clear where the line comes in the text because it's actually part of the text. And of course, you could do this with any shape. And I can also do this with any image. I've got an image file here that's a piece of clip art that looks like the type of line you would have between paragraphs. I can just drag that in and add it here to my document. And in this case, I probably want to shrink it down. It's probably meant to be something that's kind of in the center like that. And this works just like a shape does. So in this case, I've got it under Format Arrange, set to Move with Text. I want to set it to above and below. And let's decrease the spacing a little bit like that. And now it'll move just fine with the text, just like a line would. I could also, of course, change it to be in line with text. And then it will be like a character. I'll put it in its own paragraph there, and I'll center that paragraph like that. That makes it really easy to say, grab that whole paragraph of text and then go and add it really easily here anywhere else I want it. So this means you don't have to stick with basic lines. You can create something on your own or use a piece of clip art to divide paragraphs. There's also another thing you could do that's fairly new in Pages. Note where your cursor is located, in this case in this paragraph. And under Format and then Layout, you've got paragraph borders. So you could set a paragraph border. Let's choose this kind of line. And you can choose if it's above, below, to the left, or right of the paragraph. I'm going to turn off above and turn on below. So now it appears as a line below the paragraph. And you could change the line style, the color. You can make it a little thicker. You could also change the offset between the line and the paragraph it's attached to. If you want to change the offset below the line, you want to go to Format, Style, and then alter after paragraph like this to increase the amount there. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's part of this paragraph. So I can go and create a new paragraph style that is, let's say, end paragraph like that. And now anytime I want to have a line below a paragraph, I change its style to end paragraph. You can see how I added it there. And of course, if I were to update this end paragraph, let's change the line color, for instance, then I could update the style, and you can see how it updates it in other paragraphs that are the same style as well. Now, a variation on this is to have a paragraph all to itself that has the line. Let's go to View and Show Invisibles again, and we can see I've added an extra paragraph here. Let's go to Format, Layout, and I'm going to create a paragraph border below this one, like that, and make it pretty thick. I'm going to change the border offset, so it's actually negative, so it's making it a little smaller there. As a matter of fact, I can go to Format and then Style to adjust the line spacing, and let's put some after the paragraph. So when it feels kind of like it's centered like that, I've now got this special paragraph that's nothing but a line, and I can copy it, and I could paste it somewhere else. Or better yet, I can go ahead and create a new style with this, and I'll call this a divider. And then I could add a new paragraph wherever I want, like right here, change it to a divider paragraph, and it adds that line. And I could update this divider paragraph. Let's go here and change the color, and then update, and it updates all of them. And I like this because it doesn't force you to use a particular style for the last paragraph. The last paragraph can be styled just like everything else. You just have these special styles for these blank divider paragraphs. And of course, I want to point out the simplest one, but it's the least versatile of them all. But it has one advantage I'll show you, and that is to simply add a bunch of dashes. Now, if you have normal dashes like this, it's going to try to combine them to make it a straight across dash, but that's going to depend on your font. So what I encourage you to do is use Option and then the dash key on your keyboard and add a bunch of these dashes. however many you think is needed, and then go to Format Style and center it. And then you could adjust the paragraph spacing and everything as you like. It's really basic, but it has one advantage, and that is if you plan on distributing this text as plain text later on, then those images won't work. So you may be just using Pages as a writing tool, and then you want to paste this into something else. So if I select all and copy, and you see I can paste it into a rich text email, and I get that line there just fine. But even if I'm using plain text and I paste it in, you can still see it doesn't center because plain text doesn't, but at least I do get the divider line there. And the same thing in text editor or any other text editor. I paste it in there, at least I do get these long dashes here together as a divider in this case, where of course the image wouldn't show up in a plain text format. So there are a whole bunch of different ideas for putting a divider between paragraphs. Hopefully you found one that you like, and maybe also learned something about adding shapes, images, and using paragraph styling in Pages as well. Thanks for watching.
Well, I've been told many years ago there's more than one way to skin a rabbit, but not that many ways.
I wonder if that would save if you saved it as a Word document.
What did you say?
What?
I couldn't understand Ken's comment.
Oh, if you saved it, did it in Pages and saved it as a Word document, wonder if it would save all that.
I don't know. One of the things I found in Pages layout is you may be able to increase the space between lines, but there's no way to decrease them. They seem to come out too far apart. Has anybody else noticed that in page layout mode?
I've had that happen. I've had that happen on several occasions. I was helping my wife do some things on Pages, and you can like click 2 clicks, and then after that it starts widening again.
Yeah, and you can't get down below 1.
No.
I'd like to be able to get down to a half a space.
Is there an option to enter the spacing that you want?
Yes, but it only goes down to 1.
No place to manually put in 0.5.
No,
Oh,
otherwise it's a marvelous page layout thing. You know, I have a group that meets monthly, and I do a fancy page layout handout, and for those not there, I make it into a PDF, and it's just superb. It's so easy to move stuff around. It's wonderful. And also bring things forward and backward that can adjust the text closer together.
All right, moving on. The second video is from Leo Notenboom, askleo.com. The one thing every non-technical person needs to know. I'm getting a little bit out of the lane here because it's not strictly Apple, but it does pertain to Apple users.
The one thing every non-technical person needs to know. Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. Here's the question I got not that long ago. What should every non-technical person know about the internet, social media, smartphones, technology, or cyber privacy and security? Honestly, I had an instant answer for this, and I'll share that with you in a minute. It's not what you think, right? It's not about actual technology. You might guess that I'd probably recommend something like backing up or anything along those lines. Nope. The one thing that everybody, absolutely everybody needs to know when it comes to technology is simply this. Don't believe everything you read. Be skeptical. The issue here is that especially modern media has become so clickbait oriented that stories which ultimately don't mean anything, that ultimately have no impact on your day-to-day, get these horrific headlines that lead you to believe that something important, something critical, something earth-shattering is about to happen, or has happened, or somehow affects you. And it doesn't. You click on the headline and you read the article and you realize that this has nothing to do with me. There's nothing I can do about this. There's no action I can take. That's a problem. Similarly, phishing. Phishing is all about taking that kind of misdirection to the next level by not only trying to convince you that something important or critical that involves you is about to happen unless you take action, and then fooling you into taking action that you don't really need to take. Phishing attempts, for example, may lead you to a completely fake site that asks you to log in, you hand over your login credentials, and all of a sudden your accounts are hacked. The problem here is that it's more than just phishing. It's more than just misinformation in the media. It's more than social media. It's more than your email. It's everywhere. Misinformation and misdirection is absolutely everywhere. And the goal of much of this misinformation is not to inform you, it's to scare you for whatever purposes that the originator might have. Now, I do want to be clear. Yes, 99% of what you see on the internet might not be as horrific as you think. Yes, there's a 1%. There absolutely is. There are some really important things happening that are critical for you to pay attention to and to understand. But because those exist, you can't just assume that everything is legit, that everything is important, because honestly, 99% of it isn't. To be very, very clear, you are significantly less likely to be impacted by all of the things you read about in headlines than you think. And that's true for the latest computer virus, it's true for the latest political thing, it's true for any number of different areas in which we receive information. So yes, the single most important thing you can do, whether you're technical or not, is to remain skeptical. Don't believe everything you read. If you think it's something important, do the research. Actually drill down to understand whether or not things are coming from reputable sources, whether things look like phishing. Don't react. Act intentionally. That way, you and everybody around you will be significantly safer. Perhaps most importantly, don't let all the fear-mongering prevent you from embracing and using all of the wonderful stuff that our technology has to offer. For comments, for updates, for related links and more, visit askleo.com/74799. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is AskLeo.com. Thanks for watching.
Any comments or questions?
I always thought that the one thing everybody needs to know is their password.
Yeah, right.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Third video is from Ellen Sweeney. Ellen's Tips for iOS. 6 easy tips to make your iPhone feel faster.
If you've had your iPhone for a few years, it may not run as quickly and smoothly as it did when you first bought it. We tend to install apps without a thought. Photos, videos, music, and podcasts can all take up space. The more data you've installed, the less likely your iPhone is running like it did when you first bought it. So let's look at some tips to speed up your device. If we haven't met, I'm Ellen from Ellen's Tips for iOS, and I help seniors master their iPhones and iPads. If you find the video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The offload app feature has existed since iOS 11, but you may not be familiar with it. When you offload an app, you remove it from your iPhone, but keep all of the data and settings intact to pick up where you left off should you need to install it again. It's a much safer way to remove your apps just in case you need them. You can manually offload each app, which could be tedious if you've installed many apps. An easier way is by turning on a setting to automatically offload any app you haven't used in 12 days. To do this, we're going to go ahead and open the Settings app. We'll tap on App Store. We'll scroll to the bottom and we'll toggle on the switch that says offload any unused app. And now any app that we haven't used in 12 days will be offloaded, but as soon as we tap on that app, it'll come back to our iPhone with all of the settings and data intact. Apple releases updates to iOS that you need to be made aware of. Some cover security and others add additional features to your iPhone. It's essential to keep your software up to date. Now is the time to check for software updates and maybe change a few settings. We'll go ahead and we'll open Settings again. This time we're going to tap on General. We're going to go ahead and select Software Update. And once you do that, if an update's available, you can go ahead and install that update. I'm going to go ahead and tap on Automatic Updates. Right now, I have it set to download only. So if I toggle on the switch that says iOS Updates Automatically Install, it'll automatically download the software when it's ready and install it. It will also install all of the security responses and system files that Apple gives out. And I also have the switch to automatically download. So make sure to check for software updates and check these settings. Live photos record what happens 1.5 seconds before and after you take the photo. This allows you to pick the perfect shot from that time span and avoid people closing their eyes. It's a great idea, but each image takes up to approximately 7 megabytes of space. So turn off this feature, which is on by default, and use it only when you think it's necessary. So how to do that is we're going to go ahead and we're going to open the camera app. So I'm going to swipe down from the upper right corner and I'm going to locate the camera app, tap on it in the control center, and now you can go ahead and see my camera. And I'm going to select photo, and in the upper right corner, you're going to see a bullseye with a line through it because I have live photos turned off. If yours looks like this without the line through it, then you'll see that the live photo is on. So I'll go ahead now and tap it to turn it off. And if you find that that feature keeps returning to on, there's a setting that you can turn on to preserve that particular setting to keep live photos off. And to do that, we're going to swipe out of the camera app. We're going to come back into the Settings app. And this time, we're going to go to Camera. So I'm going to tap on General and get back to the main settings area. I'm going to scroll down until I locate Camera. And there it is. And then I'm going to scroll until I see Preserve Settings. I'll tap on Preserve Settings. And then I'll look for Live Photo. And I'll toggle this switch on. And so preserve the live photo setting rather than automatically reset to live photos turned on. You may have heard that closing all your apps will speed up your iPhone. It won't. It's a myth. The apps that you see open when you swipe up from the bottom of your screen are frozen in time, not running in the background, but they're just waiting for you to engage with them again. However, if you have an app that is giving you trouble or has stopped functioning normally, then locating that app and swiping it up and away to close it often fixes whatever the problems are. So when you reopen that app, you'll get a fresh start. Give it a try the next time you're having an issue with any app. So I've swiped halfway up the screen to come into what's known as the app switcher. And let's just say that my UPS app isn't functioning anymore. If I swipe that app up and away, it automatically closes it. I'm going to tap out to come back to the home screen. I'll pull down in the home screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and search for the UPS app and just reopen it. And once I do, if there were any problems with that app, hopefully by closing it and reopening it, that will fix any issues that you're having. Sometimes your iPhone behaves erratically. It may refuse to connect to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or it's just not operating properly. If you notice this behavior, try a hard restart. You shouldn't have to do it often, but it's a lifesaver in certain situations. To do this, you'll want to push and hold on the volume up button while pushing and holding on the side button. You'll see the slide to power off option appear. Keep holding. The screen eventually will go dark. Keep holding. When you see the white Apple logo appear, release the button. It may take your iPhone a minute or two to restart completely. However, whatever was not working before will hopefully be working perfectly now. I've saved the best for last. It's better to do some housekeeping on our iPhones than to run out of space, and it's possible you could run out of space. To locate your iPhone storage, we're going to go ahead and open the Settings app. We're going to tap on General. We're going to select iPhone storage, and you'll see the amount of space available on your device in the graph above. You'll also see below the graph some recommendations. So here again, you'll find the offload unused apps, and it'll tell you how much space it can save you, and you can enable that here. In this one, it also gives me downloaded videos and audio that I can go through, and it tells me how much space I can save there. And below recommendations, you'll find all of the apps that you use. You can go through all of these apps, review them, and delete the ones that you no longer have use for. So if any apps are taking up space and you no longer use them, go ahead and delete them from your device. Maintaining optimal iPhone performance involves various steps such as offloading unused apps, installing updates, disabling live photos to save space, selectively restarting problematic apps, performing occasional hard restarts, and managing storage efficiently. Following these tips can help ensure your iPhone operates smoothly and remains clutter-free. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Any comments or questions? Moving on. Fourth video is from Gary Rosenzweig, MacMost, how to add a drawing to a note on a Mac.
MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can sketch in the Notes app on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, more and more people are using the Notes app, especially as Apple keeps adding new features. But one feature that's still missing is the ability to sketch using your Mac. Now, you can easily sketch from your iPhone and iPad. Matter of fact, on the iPad, you can use the Apple Pencil. But on a Mac, you can't even use your mouse or trackpad to sketch. Now, you can sketch if you've got an image there already. So, for instance, in this note here, I've got this image here, and I could click at the upper right-hand corner, go to Markup, and in Markup Tools, I can use some of these sketching options, draw shapes, all sorts of things. So I can just sketch across this here, and when I click Done, you can see it's now part of that image. But what happens if you just want to add a sketch, like you're taking notes in a meeting or in a class, and you just need to add something simple? Now, Apple kind of assumes that since you don't have a touchscreen on a Mac, there's no Apple Pencil, there's no good way to sketch, that you shouldn't be able to sketch at all. But some people are pretty good at drawing simple things with a mouse and trackpad, and other people may have some sort of tablet attached to their Mac. So you may wish that there is just some way just to do a basic sketch right here on the Mac like you can on the iPhone and iPad version of Notes. Now, of course, the first way I'm going to show you to do it requires that you have an iPhone or iPad with you. In that case, you can go to any point in your note, click on this button right here where you would insert a photo. But notice that since my iPhone and I have an iPad that are using the same Apple ID, they should show up here and you can choose Add Sketch. So I'll do that and my iPhone will be taken over by a little drawing screen and I can use my finger to sketch on this, and then when I tap Done, then I get that sketch inserted here in Notes on my Mac. But the whole point here is to be able to do it just on your Mac, not having to pull out your iPhone or use another device. So, as I showed before, you can mark up an image if it's already there. So, let's insert a blank image. Now, if you have any graphics app like Pixelmator Pro or Acorn or Photoshop, you can easily create a totally white square image and just bring that into Notes. But I'm going to assume that you don't have any graphics apps at all. So there is a quick and simple way to create a blank image, and you only need to do this the first time. I'm going to create a new note here in Notes. So I have this big white blank field here. So I can just turn this into an image using a screenshot. So I'm going to use Shift-Command-5 and use the screenshot tool and then click here to capture a selected portion. And then I could adjust the size here and just grab a bit of the white field that's right here. I'm going to go to Options here and I'm going to have it saved to the desktop. And I can have the Show Mask Pointer turned off, or just make sure that the pointer is outside the white area when you select. And typically we'd have Show Floating Thumbnail on. It doesn't really matter because if I do Capture, you'll see it appear at the bottom right. But after a few seconds that will disappear and you'll get this file. Now this file right here, if I select it and use the spacebar to quick look, it's just a totally blank image there. So I'm going to rename it. I'm just going to call it blank. So blank.png. Now, I could put this anywhere. Probably there's better locations than on the desktop. You can stick it in your Documents folder. But if I drag this into Notes, I can get a blank area here like that. You can see that's the completely blank image. So now I can go to Markup Tools as before, but now I just have this blank canvas that I could draw on. I could add shapes if I want. I could add text. I can do whatever I need to diagram something. Click Done. And now I've got my drawing in here. I can even go back in and choose Markup and continue to edit it. So a little handy way to quickly add something here. Just keep this image around to use later on. Now you can go further with this. I went to a clip art collection and I got this file here, which is this little notepad. It shows little spirals at the top and it's got a grid on it. So I can drag and drop this in instead. And now I get this notepad here. And I can mark this up. And now I have a nice little grid that I could draw on, which you may like. You can get, of course, ones with lines. You can make your own up if you are good with graphics. And you can have these little images inserted here. You could open this up in the Preview app. I just double clicked it there to open it up. And you can resize it to adjust the size, maybe make it something smaller if you just want a smaller image there. Maybe have a selection of them, have different sizes and different types to drag and drop into the Notes app. So that covers the basics, but we can use the Shortcuts app to make this a little bit easier. So you can quickly add a blank image to a note anytime you want with just a keyboard shortcut. So in the Shortcuts app, I'm going to add a new shortcut here. And I'm going to call this one Insert Blank image into notes. And I want to go to the details section here, and then I want to set it as a quick action in the services menu that provides output. And in the receive section here, I want to change that. I'm going to click select all, then deselect all, so it's nothing right here, because I don't want to get anything into this. But I do want to output something, which is why I've selected provide output here. I'm going to add a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to do Control, Option, Command, and K. And that should do it. Now I just need to create a blank image. It's a little tricky to do in shortcuts. There are some that will do it using base 64 encoding. There's a simpler but kind of convoluted way to do it. If you first create a bit of text, I'm just going to type text here and just grab the text action and just leave that blank. So create a blank piece of text. You could then do text to image. So make image from rich text like that. And I can make an image from this text, which is blank. If I go to show more, it gives me a size. So let me do like 320 by 240, just a small image there. And then output the image. So now with this set up like this, I should see it in the services menu. Let me close it right here, go to notes. And then if I go to notes, services, I'll see insert blank image into notes. And there's the keyboard shortcut. So instead of using it here, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut and do it. And it's going to insert the blank image it created right there. So a quick way to add this little blank image that now you can quickly go in and mark up and create these little sketches and notes on your Mac. Now you could alter this to actually use this image right here, that little notepad. So I'm going to get rid of the text here and make image from text. Instead, I'm going to drag this file in right there like that. So it's going to link to the file. It does a really weird thing with the file name there, but the link is valid. So it's going to grab that. Now I need to create an image from that. So I'm going to look for image here. And if I scroll down, I'll find one called Get Images from Input. I'm going to add that right here. So it's going to get the file. Then it's going to get the image from the file. And for this, I'm going to control click or two-finger click or right click. And I'm going to select the images that come out of this. So it'll get the file, get the image from the file, and then that's what will output. So now I can close this, and in notes using this same keyboard shortcut, it will, instead of inserting that blank image made from that blank text field, it's going to insert the notepad.png image. So the first time it's going to ask, is it okay to use that file? And then I say yes, and there I go. I've got it. So now anytime I want, just a quick keyboard shortcut, and I've inserted this image here that I can now go in and mark up and add, whatever I want here and illustrate something on a Mac without having to use an iPhone or iPad to sketch. But the shortcut only adds a little bit of convenience. If you don't want to go and work with shortcuts, you can just have these files somewhere you can easily drag and drop them into any note that you want. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Comments, questions? Fifth video is from Rich Bolin, iPad tips for seniors. iPad tips for seniors, making the most of your time.
Here's the whole thing. Your time is finite. Your list of tasks can be infinite. And if this is true, and I think it is, then doing the most important things with the limited time you have just makes sense. This video could be an hour long. There's really so much to say about this topic, but I'm going to keep it short. In today's video, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit and show you how I manage my time and tasks. This is a very personal approach and a very different type of video from my usual content. Stick around. It's worth a few minutes of your time. Hi, my name is Rich, and before I dive in and show you my iPad setup, please hear my story out. At the time of this video, I'm 63 years old, and while I've been fortunate to have accomplished some important things in my life, I've chased a lot of rabbits too. It's so easy to do in a world that tells you to keep hustling. When I was a young attorney, I wanted to be as productive as I could be, and I surely got a lot of things done. But as I got older, I still wanted to be productive, not so that I could get even more things done, but so that I'd have some margin time. Time to take a break every once in a while, and that really helped lower the speed at which I was living. Fast forward to a few years ago, and I started listening to David Sparks' podcast, Mac Power Users. I related to David because he's an attorney too. Living the life of an attorney is so pressure-packed. Your time is not your own. And if you care about your clients and want to provide the best help you can, then the margin of error is really, really small. Recently, David released a productivity field guide, and the whole concept is based on roles, not goals. In other words, the important things in life are mostly related to your many roles. I'm a husband and a father, I'm a son and a brother, I'm a woodworker and a YouTuber, and I have other roles too. And so my task lists are related to those roles. If something comes up for me to do, and it doesn't fall within one of those important roles, then I ask myself if this is something I should be doing. And most of the time, it's not. And so that task never makes it onto my list. I think you get the idea. Okay, let me show you how I know what tasks I want to do and how I schedule them. Because remember, your time is finite, your task list is not. All right, let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to take a look at is just my reminders list. If I tap on reminders and bring it up, you'll see I have a lot of lists over here. And over the years, I've made a bunch of videos on reminders, and I've had it set up a whole bunch of different ways. But this is the way I use it in my day-to-day life. I keep a reminders list here because sometimes I use Siri to add reminders. And then I put in some of the roles that I have. I'm a husband, I'm a family man, try to be healthy, I work on our cars and keep them up, I'm a woodworker, I manage various projects around the house, I'm a friend, and I maintain things too. And so I've created these roles that I play, and when I sit down and do a review, I try to look at each one of these roles and what I want to do to move the ball forward related to those roles. For example, as a husband, I want to take my wife to dinner. I need to do that. We need to plan our summer vacation. I've been planning on making her a video of our early years when we first got married, and I was filming around with a big Channel 5 TV camera. I'm a family man. Our little grandson will be sleeping over with us soon. I'm going to help my daughter and son-in-law with some landscaping at their house and so forth. And so I have a whole bunch of chores that are in here. I have up here at the list, at the top, a tag list called All. And you may see that, you may not. If you want to see that and you don't see it, you can just simply tap the circle with the 3 dots and tap on Edit Lists. And then you're going to see all of the pinned lists you can have. You can have Today, Scheduled, Completed, and Assigned to Me. And now they all show up. I don't really care to see all of those, so I just keep all and flagged. That's all that I need to see, so that's how I've got that. So if I tap on flagged, I have nothing here, and if I tap on all, I have all of my tasks in here broken down by the various roles. So here's how I choose what I'm going to do. Each week, I go through and take a look at the various tasks that I've added throughout the week. And then I try to pick out what do I want to do the coming week. And so what I do is I tap on the little circle up here at the top and I choose Select Reminders. And I know Rhonda and I are going to dinner. I'm going to work on the video. We've got Justin with a sleepover. We are going to have a family dinner with everybody. I've got to schedule my annual blood work. And I need to repair the garage cabinet. That's got to be done. And so now I've chosen the things that I'd like to do this next week. And if you go down here to this circle in the bottom right, you can tap on that and just tap Flag. And now I've flagged each one of those things that I want to do, and now I've kind of whittled my list down to something that's a little bit easier to look at. So these are the things that I want to do in the upcoming week or so. So now that I have that list up like that, I simply drag them onto my calendar. So if I swipe up and I pull my calendar up, drag it over, now I've got split screen. And we're going to start for next week. So I'm going to take Rhonda to dinner on Friday. I tap and drag it over to Friday at 5, and I leave that there, and I click add, and it schedules it. I'm going to work on the video, drag that down. I'm going to work on that Thursday afternoon. I click add. Justin's sleepover will be Saturday, and I'll put that at 5 o'clock because we're going to take him to dinner too. And then we're going to have a family dinner on Wednesday, and that too will be at 5 o'clock. And I'll click add. I'm going to schedule my annual blood work Monday morning at 9 when the doctor's office opens. I'll click add. And then Monday afternoon, I'm going to work on the garage cabinet after work. And I'll click add. And now I have the various things on my task list scheduled for the upcoming week, and I can sort of see what I've got coming up. I use my calendar, frankly, more than I use my task list because, again, my time is finite. You know, what am I going to be doing over the next week? I could have 100 things on my list of things to do, but I might only be able to get to a half a dozen of them depending on what's going on in the coming week. And so I just schedule them out that way, and I sit down and I do a review each week, and then I just plan out my week, and that's it. It's a very simple way to keep track of things, but it's also a way to make sure that you're doing the important things that you should be doing. I hope that all makes sense. So that's the direction I'm taking with my tasks and time. I feel really good about it. You know, I have no idea what tomorrow will bring, but I do know I want to do the most important things I can with whatever time I have. Okay, that's enough for today's video. It was pretty heavy. I hope it's given you a little food for thought. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Comments, questions?
By the time you set up your tasks, you're too tired to do them.
Yeah. Six videos from Techie Tudor. iOS tips and tricks for seniors. Tips to customize Control Center, iOS 17, iPhone, and iPad.
Hello. Do you ever need the flashlight on your phone? Do you ever find that the text is too small on the web page you're reading? Have you ever wanted to know what that song is you're listening to on the radio? Stay tuned to find out how you can do all this and more with a very easy setup on your iPhone and iPad. Hello and welcome to Techie Tutor. I make videos to help you use your Apple apps and iOS devices. In this video, I will show you the Control Center and how it can help you throughout your day by making certain things you use on your iPhone and iPad easily accessible. At the end of the video, I will explain how you can access a digital download to help you through the steps I cover in the video. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Control Center, let me explain exactly what it is. The Control Center is personalized in settings and is accessible when you're using your iPhone or iPad, no matter what app you're using. You can customize your Control Center with the features you need on a regular basis. I use many of these features throughout the day. You'll find that you will have a much more efficient experience when you can easily access the controls that work for you. To begin, you'll want to go to Settings and scroll down to the Control Center here. Let's get started. Opening up the Control Center, you'll see you're first met with whether or not you want to have access to the Control Center no matter what app you're on. If you turn this off, it will only be available on the home screen, so I keep it on. Show Home Controls is if you have things that work with the Apple Home app. Okay, so you can turn that on if you do have those. The first thing you see after that is what controls are already included, and then if you scroll down, all the other options you have. So if there's a green circle with a plus, that means you can add it. Let's go ahead and add a few and see how this works. I am going to add the flashlight. I am also going to scroll down and add the magnifier, music recognition. I'm going to add quick note. I'm going to add stopwatch, text size, voice memos, wallet, and timer. Okay, so all of the included controls are showing. If you want to change the order, you just hold on the 3 horizontal lines and you can drag and put it where you want it. So depending on what your needs are. Now let's see what this looks like. I'm going to go out to a web page. I'm on my Techie Tutor video site, and to access the control center, if you have a newer phone, you're going to drag from the top of the screen down. If you have an older phone, you're going to drag from the bottom of the screen up. What you're seeing here now is the control center. So a couple of things are hidden. If you want to access some of the hidden features, you're going to hold down on this first one and you'll see the other 2 available features within that first setting. So you can turn AirDrop on or off. You can connect to a personal hotspot, airplane mode off, Wi-Fi off, Bluetooth, all of these things you can access very quickly from the control center. If you're watching a video or listening to music or a podcast, this is the place where you can easily have it start playing backwards, forwards, or even choose what the content will be. This box is for portrait orientation lock. So if you lock this, your phone will just stay in portrait mode. So if you turn it sideways, you're going to find a frustrating experience. If you ever find that it's locked, you can come over here and unlock it by pressing it. So when it's red, it's locked into portrait mode. Deselect it by clicking, and it's not locked. Over here is brightness. You can use the slider up or down to change the brightness of your phone, and down below you have a few other things that you can access. Dark mode would change your phone so it's more dark until sunrise. Night shift off until whatever time you have set up, and true tone. So these are all available through the control center. I also have quick access to my camera. This is a feature I use all the time. It's changing text size. Right now you see my text size is at 90%. You can use a slider and increase the size of your text. So if you happen to be on a web page or you're reading a document and it's just too small, easily access the text size and make it comfortable. If you want to fit everything in the screen, then you're going to make the text size smaller so it all fits. So I go back and forth throughout the day. Now this is a magnifier, so if you want to point your phone as if you're taking a picture of something and you use the magnifier, it just allows you to zoom in and see something really big. So an application for that might be you're in a restaurant and you can't read the menu. You might use your magnifier and your flashlight to make it easier to read. Here's your flashlight. This is the music recognition. If you hear a song on the radio and you want to know what it is, you would press this button and then you can find out the name of the song and who's singing. I love this feature. This is quick note. Pressing this will open up a brand new note and you can just type and save it, and it's saved right into your notes. Let's go back to our control center. Then I have flashlight and voice memos if I want to dictate a quick memo. This is the stopwatch, and down here is a timer. Okay, so I have shown you how to customize Control Center for your needs, and I have explained how useful I find it for my needs. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please press the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel and then you'll get notifications of new videos. If you would like to access the digital download to have the instructions written, you can click in the details below for this video and click on the link. Thank you.
Comments or questions? On to miscellany. First item is kind of stealing the tip of the week from Tom Wells' Proper Honest Text. Did you know that if you press hold on the play button on a voice message in the Messages app, you can adjust the playback speed of the message? Perfect if you've got a friend who simply can't get to the point quickly. Second tip, how to edit a PDF on a Mac by Martin Castley of Macworld. This is simply a great coverage on ways PDFs can be edited on a Mac with built-in Mac OS software. And if you click on the reference there, you can get to that great coverage. On to questions and answers.
Hold on, I gotta get my sound on. So for our people watching on YouTube, this will be the end of the recording, and the Q&A portion will continue in a separate recording, and you will be able to get that. If you log on to the BBS, you can get the link, and it probably usually goes on for another hour or so, and social hour, etc. So come on over and visit sometime next Tuesday. You want to join the Q&A, you're welcome.